Today I'm going to show you how I made this illustration using the Cuttlelola Electric Stipple pen and just make some comments along the way. I am going to start with sketching this out, and the reason I want to talk about sketching is because I think it's important to have something to work with, and this might be keeping people from purchasing one of those electric stipple pens because they're super cool, but people are thinking, well, I can't really illustrate, I can't really draw, so I wouldn't really know where to start, therefore I don't really want to buy the pen. But as you can see here, the way that I'm starting out with my illustration is obviously by sketching probably a little too dark with the pencil, but you can notice that there are these lines that I drew in the middle to make a box inside the box. I know the sheet of paper is already a rectangle, I already know that, but if you don't give yourself any guidelines to work within, I think it can be really overwhelming to figure out what your proportions are supposed to be. So I've made a line there kind of a third of the way down, basically to stop where the head should go, I think, because I'm not doing all the way down to the feet or anything. I'm just looking at a couple of different statue references and a couple other like old etched references for Peter holding the key. If you were to go and Google Peter holding the key, it's a pretty intense scene. That's what I'm trying to replicate here, or at least my idea of what a stipple drawing. Now you can see I'm really sketching a lot of detail here, probably more than I would need to, but again, what's stopping people from probably buying the electric stipple pen is because they think they're not going to get any use out of it because they're not really good at drawing. I mean, there's a lot of different use cases for the stipple pen. It's great for tattoo artists that want to practice tattooing on sheets of paper, or just people that want to have fun, or for kids that want to have fun drawing kind of in a different way. But as you can see here, I've got a really pretty detailed sketch of what I want before I even transition over into the stipple pen. And the reason is because I need some guides for where I'm going to put the pen, because once you put those pen marks down, I mean, there's no going back from that. So I'm still giving myself at least some guidelines for what I think the robe should look like, I think the hair should look like, I think at least the face and the eyes should go. Looking back, I would say that I probably drew a little bit too dark. So you can see I'm erasing different parts at different sections. Definitely drew a little bit too dark, and so I'm trying to ease up, especially as I get down here towards the bottom. I don't want to like have it all too dark, and then, you know, when I have the pen on there, the pen doesn't adhere to the paper because it's trying to ink over pencil mark, and that's not really going to work super well. So my suggestion would be super light sketch, definitely not even as dark as I'm making it right here. I think you just want to set yourself up for guidelines, and then when you're ready, you can move over into the electric pen. All right, so once I was done with the initial sketch, you can see it's time to get the electric pen here, and it's moving on its own, which is really neat. It's just a little button you turn on. You can even leave it hooked up via USB-C, but I'm starting to go around just the outline of my illustration with the electric stipple pen. It's a little difficult to get on camera here because I had this mounted. You can see I zoomed in here a little bit. You can start to see things get a little bit dark. I wanted to keep it at the top so that I didn't have any cameras in the way, and I didn't want to like put it on the table sideways because the camera would have been shaking when you hear all the like of the stipple pen, because it is quite loud. As you can see here, I went ahead and hooked it up so that I wouldn't worry about charging. I think it can last around 2 hours or so, depending on how intense you're going, but I just leave it hooked up. I mean, if you have the ability to, I just hook it up via USB to my laptop or anywhere else, and you can just basically go forever. So you can see after I erased here, you can see it's starting to get a lot darker. And so there's not really any secret to this because the stipple pen is really going to work on its own. And the best advice that I can give here is try to experiment with angled versus top-down drawing, because when you're going to draw like to the side at an angle, how most people probably approach the piece of paper with a pencil or a pen, it's going to give you one kind of mark, versus if you can train yourself to kind of have the pen directly on top of the illustration. So if you can train yourself to have it there on top, you're going to get a lot more precise dot, or a lot darker dot, if you hold it in one place, because what it's doing is perfectly adhering to the paper right as you come down on it. Basically, if you were going to take a pen, hold it straight up and then bring it down to the paper, you're going to give a nice perfect dot, versus if you take your hand to the paper at an angle, like a 45-degree angle, which most people were taught to, and then you start kind of trying to dot it, you're dotting at an angle, and what you might do is accidentally make some markings. So speaking of pens, what I did is I went ahead and did exactly that. You can see here I've got the microns out because I wanted to get some places a lot darker than the stipple pen was going to give me. Now, I know that they've actually updated their model. I actually have the old model of the Cuttlelola Electric Stipple pen. I have linked the updated and cheaper version, mind you, down in the description if you want to check that out. It's supposed to be a lot better. Hopefully I can grab that one day. Right now, the one I have is serving me pretty fine, but I do notice that unless I am drawing with it on an extremely hard surface, it doesn't really give me as dark of dots or dark of shading as I want. So you can see I'm on a kitchen table that is wood, and so the wood, even though it's a hard table by most intents and purposes, it's still soft in that when the pen is hitting the paper and then hitting back to the wood, it's not perfectly flat. You can see there's little divots in the wood table behind the piece of paper, and I have a countertop that is actually granite, and it when I do it on that, it's a lot better, a lot stronger, and easier to adhere to the paper. So here's the final piece, the final drawing here. It was a lot of fun. You all let me know in the comments what you make of the electric stipple pen, what you think of it, and if you're gonna try it out. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.